foundry owners like us will be a little worried about how long this implementation is going to take, or who's going to do it, right? And how much of our time is going to be invested in this implementation. What are some sort of savings like we can look at? Like, tell us how much it costs. Like, be upfront. Like, the audience are waiting; they pretty much want to know.
But ERP is not the same as what we are doing.
So, Mr. Bhushan,
thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Mr. Bhushan is running a company. He's a founder of Vezapp, right? Vezapp is an app which basically helps you capture your data from your foundry,
Sure.
Digitize it completely, and then make meaningful information out of this
Data.
right? So maybe decisions can be driven.
Yes.
Right. That is
So
primarily
basically,
what you're doing.
we are focusing on the foundries and helping foundries to wherever and whenever data is generated, they can capture data right from them.
Right.
So it will avoid the data redundancy, duplication, and paperwork in the foundry shop floor area.
Okay.
That's the main idea of what we have been doing here.
Okay. Okay. That's great. So before we get in the interview, how long does your implementation take? Because that is something that will really, give you an understanding of what he's doing is special.
Our implementation lasts from anywhere between 3 weeks to 6 weeks of time.
Okay.
So that is what makes them, in the shortest time they can go live, and that will see the form and the way they want to see the data entry. They
Correct.
can live test it and go live.
Correct.
So that is a very, very important part that we have been taking care to address in the shortest implementation time. Yeah.
So that means that if tomorrow, if I say sign you up right now at my foundry, right, this very instant,
Yeah.
about 3 to 6 weeks, I will start to get the data from my foundry captured
Absolutely.
at the source.
Yes.
And be able to drive meaningful decisions from it.
Correct.
Okay, that's a really good promise. So let's see what gives Mr. Bhushan the credibility to be able to make such a grand claim, right?
Yes.
So let's move to your background, because you have a
Thanks.
really extensive one.
Yes.
So let's start. How did you get your start into the industry?
So recession actually bring me to the business, not so to say plan.
Right.
Entrepreneurship was not planned as such.
Right.
But yeah, in 2024, I'm very happy with that decision.
Right.
I can say this. way.
So you said you were in Austria and Germany, right?
Yes.
Uh,
So I
you-
did master in Germany,
Right.
and then I was working in Austria with the global R&D company Magna Powertrain.
How did you get into the foundry industry? Because this is like such a small niche industry, like all of us understand.
Absolutely.
So 2009, you were working with Magna. You came back to India.
Yes.
Right. I
One
believe?
opportunity came in 2009 where a casting simulation software company, Cast Designer, they were looking for a reseller in India.
Okay.
So that is the first time where we started to work for a Cast Designer as a reseller in India. We started selling software for them, and that is the first time we came into contact with the foundry.
You also mentioned that Cast Designer is very established today, right?
Yes.
But you particularly brought them into India.
Yes.
Right. You
So we
opened up-
brought them first time in India,
Correct.
grabbing the market for the huge industry here for the foundry.
Correct.
And they give us a responsibility to become a reseller and develop a chain below us for the sub-reseller and so on and so forth. And we did that for them. Yes.
Correct. So this is the company that you founded,
Auto Design Online. Correct.
So let's quickly go about simulation software, because if we're talking about 2009, 2010, today we're in 2024.
Yes.
Like 14 years since you were doing simulation software.
True.
In fact, nobody was even on. How did you get the opportunity for Cast Designer? Because tell them that's pretty interesting.
Well, actually, I had not contact outside India at that time for this one. But what happened was, like as we know, right now we are using different platforms like social media and otherwise. LinkedIn was at that time still available platform professionally, I could say, where you can find many related matters to that.
2010, right?
2009-10, yes.
2009-10 LinkedIn, right? This is early adopter for you. So go on, Mr.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where we come to know that they are looking for a reseller in India,
Okay.
and we approached them. They're having a sales office for the Asia in Hong Kong, and through them we became the reseller, and then that is just a start point. Then we more and more communicated and visited foundries. We come to know what they are up to, what are the challenges they are going through, what are the requirements that rather encourages more eager and more hunger in us, that we need to find more solutions.
Correct.
So simulation was one of the solution, and that gives us more.
Quickly, I have one question related to simulation. When you started this in 2009-10, right? How was simulation software sold? Like, was it, two questions I have on it. Was it as effective as it is today? What were the challenges with the software? Like, was it really helping solve,
Yes.
getting defects or things like that? That is one.
So basically simulation software is very powerful tool.
Okay.
But how to use the software, that know-how is very critical.
Okay.
So just investing in the software is one part of that, but effectively utilize the software is rather more important part, right? Because money is the one thing you can invest one time, but if there is no skill available enough, then this investment will not work.
Right.
So that was the challenge in 2009.
Simulation is. Did you have to first explain to foundries what exactly simulation is, because this is such a nascent stage in the technology?
Yes.
So how did that communication go? I mean, I could picture you going into a foundry and saying, "Hey, I can predict what is going to happen in your casting before you even pour."
Yeah.
You know, that was
so.
amazing.
I mean, nowadays, of course, foundries are much more aware and they know
Right.
what simulation software. But back to those days, I would say, yeah, it's a tough job. You have to theoretically explain. Then they will give a sample, then you have to practically explain, and then commercial call will come whether they want to invest or not.
Correct.
So it's not that easy, because companies are going through all this phase, and I mean, generally they consider any software as a magic, be it XYZ software. For any industry, software is a magic. So if we do and purchase this will resolve.
Right.
Now that does not happen. Any solution is not a magic. It's a process. It leads you to something, solution in the direction of the solution, but it's not a magic.
Right.
So that's where its own challenges in different software lies. Yeah. And then we later on in the same auto design online journey, we became a partner for one of the Foundry ERP software, because we understood that data is required in Foundry domain.
Correct.
We also represent a German-based company for a quality management system in India. So we implement in the quality management system like APQP, PPAP, FMEA. These are all the processes they need to manage from the document point of view.
Okay.
So how to manage all the quality management data, there is a separate system for that. So there is a German company we were representing in India as well. So that's where we came more and more close to the foundry and we realized what are their challenges and what solution may fit to them. That's what we tried to do.
So that's about what you did with Auto Design On It, a company that's still running today, which you are very much a part of. But the reason we're here today is to understand about your software, which is actually in fact magical, right? Vezapp, right? In fact, it was Mr. Manan Shah Supukino, episode 6, I believe, who introduced me to Mr. Bhushan.
Yes.
So that's why we are sitting here with Vezapp.
Thanks to
your customer. In fact, his customer recommending, a software that he's implemented is like the greatest sales pitch ever.
I mean, of course, there is nothing more happiness when your customer, narrates the story, how they benefit from something. Right. So for us, it's the biggest value than any money, I would say.
Correct. So thank you, Manan.
Thanks, Manan.
So let's get into it. Yes. So you already said you were in the foundry industry, simulation software, German ERP, right?
Yes.
All these things. So then the lockdown came and you saw your opportunity. So
yes. So what happened that I was also part of the Foundry ERP software in India as well for a while. But thing is that sometimes we think that the solution, a car that works very well in XYZ country, may not be able to work well with our potholes.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Now, this is exactly the situation I found and realized after working in depth with the Foundry, their challenges and the possible solution available.
So this was the German ERP that you were working for. You found that their product was not an exact fit for the Indian market.
So thing is that, what I meant to say that in any industry, when we look from outside and we feel that this is the same thing will work in another place as well. Now that is what not happening. Right. Because the need of the Indian foundry vis-a-vis if I compare with Germany or any other countries, we have not that much level of automation. We don't have robots. We don't have a high level of conveyor system, everything like moving on its own. Like, for example, if you go to US or Germany or those countries develop where there are labor charges are higher. So of course they adopt automation at higher level. So they start machine and machine works for 8 hours. Our challenge, what we try to resolve is how to find a solution for the shop floor user. Those who are in the heat, those are the one who is working very hard, and still the solution should be comfortable with.
Okay.
Right. So as of now, what was happening? They were filling data on paper. Then somebody goes to the office, give the paper, they will enter data into software, and then they will be able to, or Excel, and then they will be able to see
like
the
most foundries, data
entry
is repeated.
Is repeated, right? So it's duplication. Right. Somebody has to fill on paper, then give the paper to the office, they will fill up the data and something will happen.
Correct.
Now we are on the total different size. What we are saying is that the person who can fill the paper, why he cannot fill the data through mobile apps because I'm giving only those fields which is filling in the logbook.
Correct.
Right? So that is the crux which we hit upon, and that is where the customers are happy with.
Correct.
Because if I am filling 6 columns in my logbook, I expect the software developer to give me just 6 columns and not 26 columns.
Correct. Correct.
Now that is where we are helping, and that's where they are happy with, because they can say, okay, whatever you are asking me is the same to my logbook that I was filling. So he's comfortable with
So
it.
this is your USP is basically that you capture the data at the source, like we mentioned in the start.
Correct.
Right, you empower maybe everybody, right? Everybody is empowered to be able to submit their own data.
Yes.
And you eliminate the duplication of data entry.
Work.
Correct? That's something. So when I talk about implementation, right away, like foundry owners like us will be a little worried about how long this implementation is going to take, or who's going to do it, right? And how much of our time is going to be invested in this implementation, because that's something very serious.
Very serious.
So how do you work around actually getting the implementation done? Because that's a very serious challenge that I couldn't tell you.
Absolutely.
Right.
So this is a very important point what you have touched upon. Implementation is very critical. So what we do is we go on site, we just take their paper, and live we just make in front of them the digital logbook.
Okay.
On their premises.
Okay.
And this exercise continues anything between 1 week to 2 weeks of time.
So there's no extra work that they have to do.
Nothing, no preparation.
Right.
There is no database, there is no license file, nothing. We just go just like we meet here, we go there, we start. Because they have already logbooks.
Correct.
So we just take the logbook, the consent person, we just talk to them which field they require or what we make to how to make them more easier, and then we just make application live in front of them. So within a week, 2 weeks time, we just give them testing as well. Correct. And then by next 2 weeks we are live. So we are talking about 4 weeks of time. You go from scratch to live with master to dashboard.
So that's
everything.
How fast Vezapp implementation is.
That's the USP
That's
what
amazing.
we have, and that is what they are liking, because they forget. If I come back to you after 6 months, you will forget what discussion we had.
Correct.
Or what we wanted to develop, or what we want to see.
Correct.
So we are believing in that. Here is a paper.
Correct.
Here is the digital logbook. What you are asking, it's in front of you. Just start using it. That's simple.
Correct. So you're saying your implementation can be done with the owner.
Yes. So again, the implementation involves a whole family. So owner is the one part or the head of the family.
Correct.
But it's not the alone.
But you don't have to live it alone, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Because why I'm saying is that the owner is not the person who is going to make daily entry.
Correct.
So for me, if you ask me, the voice or the concern given by the shop floor is more important, because he has to fill the data 20 times a day, not the owner.
Correct.
Owner is interested in KPI and dashboard,
Correct.
but the person who matters for me is rather the person who has to fill the data.
Correct. Which brings us on to another thing that you mentioned.
Yes.
In every foundry, you said you identify the key man.
Yes.
Right. So talk a little bit about this.
So key man is basically it's like if you go to the marriage, कोई तो एक फूफा होता है जो नाराज होता है.
Okay.
So foundry is similar to that, because when we say digitization or digitalization, we are talking about transparency. Right. So what is on paper and that remains on paper, nobody worries about that.
Correct.
But when you say digital data, then it's not locked into a file. That is a data which anybody can see, analyze and observe.
Correct.
So that is why when I say a key person is in the foundry, we need some person who understands the data visualization.
Okay.
Because if I just fill the melt data,
correct,
and I'm not concerning about my melt losses, my output versus input ratio or power consumption per melt or something, those data without analysis has no meaning. It's as good as paper.
Correct.
So that is where we need a key person,
correct,
who is willing to open this transparency and say, I accept the foundry,
correct,
and the data.
Believe it. Right.
I mean, it may be making a loss.
Right.
It may be they are not doing the best practice.
Correct.
But there is a mindset to improvise, that whatever level we are right now, we want to improvise to the next. That mindset, and those are the key person who makes this implementation and continuation successful.
Correct. So you've identified your key man,
yes,
right? You've basically given them the transfer of data, capture it at the source,
yes,
from logbook to your software now,
true,
right? To your basic
mobile and web applications,
your mobile app,
yes,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, if a foundry has adopted properly, they've done everything you've told them, they've captured their data, you've studied it and everything. Mm-hmm. What are some sort of savings like we can look at from using Vezapp properly?
I'll just tell you an interesting story. I'm just coming here from one of my customers,
right,
and they have been using our product since last 1.5 years.
Okay.
So we were just reviewing the data along with the owners and some of the key person. And what we find out was, since 1 year, they have melt loss of approximately 2.5 crores value.
Okay.
I'm talking about factual data.
Correct.
What they have entered by their own melting team. Nothing nothing my data or nothing my assumptions, right?
Correct.
Based on actual fact data. And then they realize that if we just make 2% of that with very little changes, for example, putting a separate meter for the energy consumption for the furnaces, individual, instead of relying on the human, what if we get data of foundry power consumption automatically?
Correct.
So that investment was initially also, many companies have proposed them. Correct. And it says, why we should invest this much amount for?
Because they were not seeing the value saving
exactly
for that decision.
So now, after seeing this,
correct,
they realize that what if my melt person or team is making an error of 1%,
correct,
of 2 crore amount, if I say,
correct,
or let's say intentionally or unintentionally error has a 5%, if I consider,
correct,
that amount justifies the investment.
Correct.
So this data entry is not just limited to collection of data, it also helps you to monitor your data, various KPIs and losses that you are making, so you can give a target to lower that.
Correct.
And then it comes to where should I invest. See, I have money, but whether I should have prioritized to put up an energy meter, or whether I should have prioritized to put one more fettling area or one more foundry furnace.
Correct.
How would you decide that?
Correct.
So if it cost me a 2 crore melting loss, should I put a furnace? Should I put a energy meter?
Correct.
XYZ. I'm saying automation to anything.
It enables you to drive decisions much
exactly
easier. Everything is transparent.
It is now the view has changed.
Correct.
Initially the company was saying this solution is just limited to the data entry point and digitalization. From there it understood that values for measuring the losses and minimize that, which they actually did, because then they give their department monthly target. So if this month melt loss and power consumption is this from output ratio is X and Y, next month we want to increase by 5%, next month we want to increase by. So that is where, without investing any money on manpower, infrastructure or anything, they are able to save the money.
Right.
That is the power of digitization and digitalization that foundries can get.
Correct.
Without any additional cost above
correct
infrastructure, I would say.
Correct. So this is a pretty large foundry, correct? So I also want to understand, like you must be working with medium foundries as well, right?
Yes.
So who to you, like, do you maybe assess a foundry and you say, okay, you can drive a substantial amount of saving by implementing our Vezapp solution, right? So what sort of foundries are? For a cast iron foundry, how much in tonnage do they have to be making, like, per month?
Yes.
To benefit from your software?
Frankly, I'm saying that the best part is every foundry records data.
Right.
If somebody is making 10-ton foundry, you visit them, there must be logbook.
Okay.
Right. The only thing is that they can manage the data easily. They can see the data and compile with calculator and so forth. But when the volume grows, so ideally, I would say digitalization is the need for the foundries who are anything above 200 tons to 1,000 and plus.
So for a sort of a cast iron foundry, right? For a cast iron foundry, it would
200,
be
300 tons to plus needs solution.
Because
the reason is not they have money. The why I am justifying who should adopt this is not by the turnover size.
Right.
I am saying by the size this way, how much money and losses there may be there, which you can plug in and you need to monitor. Because if you do not monitor, the more bleeding of money will bring down your company. So that is why there is need, not by terms of buying capacity.
Yeah, right. Understood. So that is why I say if you drew a graph, like around 200, 300 ton, you will see basically valuation going for data correction, right? Okay.
Correct.
Great.
And the scope to minimize those wastages and cost, which your customer is not paying.
Correct.
So your customer is paying for the casting part, not for your losses.
Correct.
So who will
your
pay
inefficiencies basically are not the customers.
Absolutely,
Correct. So that covers cast iron. Now, are you working with any steel?
Yes, we are working with extrusions, aluminium industries.
Extrusions in brass.
Extrusion in it could be anything. But basically, it's a power press where they make, because they also have melting furnace.
Right.
So they prepare the logs, from there they make billet, do the extrusion, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So alloy is not a concern for the software.
Correct.
It's just a composition.
Correct. Okay, that's good. So, who is not a customer? Because we have understood who is a customer now, and which foundry do you say is probably not ready for this sort of data tracking? And when you visit them,
anybody who I would say has a mindset challenges.
Okay.
That's not the customer.
So it's not. It
doesn't matter the size of the foundry. Yes.
Right.
Because of course, we have also experienced in some of the cases where money is not a limit.
Okay.
But despite that, digitization does not happen.
Right.
No boundaries on money.
Okay.
Availability or spending.
So the limitations are all in the mind.
Is exactly.
Given as Manan, right?
Yes.
Any other examples of successful customers? Like name a few.
Yeah. We have customer. They are into automotive. We have into Himachal Pradesh.
Okay.
We have into Punjab. We have into Rajkot. Like Korea Cast is there. Jensens. In Himachal we have Abitus. These are all into mass production.
Okay.
And they are making and delivering parts to OEM like Mahindra, Tata, and all this global.
So you're working with some very good established companies.
These are all automotive supplying castings to the automotive companies.
Right.
They're into green sand. They're into shell molding, aluminium casting, extrusions.
So every industry is coming.
Every industry, yes, metal industry is there. Yes.
Okay, got it. So that's good. Are you allowed, Bhushan, to tell us how much it costs?
$1 million question.
Tell us how much it costs. Like, be upfront. Like, the audience are waiting. They pretty much want to know.
Okay. So I hope this video is not made for this cost part. No, frankly. See, basically, we are I would say, going with the company size,
right,
and the efforts required for us, because ultimately we are maintaining the applications, we are providing support, and so on and so forth.
So everybody gets a different price.
Everybody, yes,
okay,
exactly.
So say,
because I don't want everybody to fill into the same. Everybody cannot fit into the same bucket, right? Somebody has a small capacity and small thing.
It's a professional service. I understand what it is, right? So like, say, give us a range. Like for small foundry, I'm really putting him on the spot here.
I can understand.
This was, as you remember, not in the script.
No.
So anyway.
Some surprise question is coming. Yeah.
Right. So no, I mean, as a foundry person, we want to know. Like you told us the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, see, frankly, it varies anything between. In terms of INR, if I say, it could vary from anything between 20,000 per month as low as it goes up to 40, 50, 60,000 per month as well.
Right.
But of course, it depends on user,
right,
how many applications they want, what type of complications they are involved
in. Implementation period,
implementation
plus the
time,
customization, everything.
Of course.
So basically 20 to 40,000 a month is somewhere where you can expect.
We are on a subscription base.
Okay.
So what happened is that.
Is there any like initial balloon payment or for implementation or something like that?
Yes. So basically I explained the working model, how it works.
Right.
These are a SaaS based application.
Correct.
Software is a service. So you just pay subscription for a year, and the whole year you will be able to access the application as per custom application you ask for.
Right.
Not something that I will give you ready made and say, okay, whether you use it or not, this is the frame. That's not good.
That was why you left your earlier company.
Exactly.
As well, right.
So the idea is it's a completely customized. As you have asked me, I have given you the same frame.
Correct.
Fields, right?
Correct.
So you cannot say that this is not fitting to my requirement.
Correct.
That is one. So means you are happy with that framework.
Correct.
And second part is that implementation cost is one time.
Okay.
But the idea is that Foundry is expertise in metal.
Correct.
You know, what we found is that in some of the company, the reason why some software might fail is LAN connection, internet, server maintenance, server security. Now, Foundry is not a company where you have all the IT expertise.
So you had to get these
services
as well.
We have to free Foundry from those technicalities and challenges, because let's say if they bought software cost them $20,000 or 20,000 euro or dollar, right? But that software and the infrastructure I have has a limitation on database or security or something like that, right? So that again leads me to the same problem, despite investing into the software.
Correct.
And second thing is, when somebody buys a perpetual license, as I said, many of them are frame design. Correct. Not much customization possible, right?
Correct.
So whatever they paid, and if the user says after 6 months, I don't want to use this, it's not helping me, or it's not fitting to my requirement, let's say, that money is gone.
Right.
So nobody will give you back what you have invested in perpetual.
Correct.
So I want to save my user for any case, for any matter, if he is not happy with software, application, myself, anything, still he has right, and I have no right to lose his money. So if he's not happy, he can say, okay, fine, we have good enough relationship, we enjoy, now we have to something else. So I am fine with that. They are fine with that. But I should not upfront take all the money, and now I said use it or don't use it.
So that's why it's a SaaS model.
And that's why most of our success customers are happy, because it's an interaction happening on frequently.
In fact, I want to add a little thing. I want to add some points to this. Like any software that can very upfront go with a SaaS model is very confident in their product.
Yes.
I say this because what happens is you not sold a customer for lifetime. Right? You have to constantly engage with the customer.
Absolutely.
You have to constantly deliver on your promise. And at any point of time,
you are on check.
At any point of time, yes. Right? You leave. Right? Your customer has every right to leave you.
Of course.
So it's a constant bound.
Right. He has every right to leave.
Correct. So I believe that a SaaS model makes sense for foundries.
Because we always have to update with their demand.
Right. So the foundry's interest is protected with the SaaS model. So that's another very good benefit.
And second thing is that, because sometimes happens that when we start implementation, the requirement is this much.
Correct.
But as they grow and see the benefit, they want to expand.
Correct.
So that flexibility we have given them, that any point of time they can expand as well.
Correct.
So that's what we have to give them, because I cannot say that when
because before
5 years you asked me to develop this much, so now use it only. I cannot grow that. Or I ask for the boom price to grow. That should not happen.
Correct.
So that is the protection we want to give to our customers.
Correct. So that's really powerful. Now you also said that you have done some implementations outside India.
Yes.
Right. So Zambia.
We have a customer in Zambia. Right. They are doing steel casting because it's a good big mining areas.
Right.
So that's where they are ordering.
So what are some challenges with working there compared to India? Like, what do you see as a difference?
I would say not much. The reason being is even there it's more labor intense, like just India.
Correct.
But recent experience, I was in one of the Finland foundry. Surprisingly, because I was impression that they will also having lots of automation, but even those level they were saying that we need this kind of solution because the shop floor data collection is, they have ERP, but ERP is not the same as what we have been doing.
Correct.
So there is a difference between ERP and what we have been doing. The ERP is mainly touching upon admin. So if you go to any foundry, there are two buildings, right? One is the admin block, one is the shop floor foundry. So admin block, where your team sits, does like marketing, sales, purchase, finance, account. This is what ERP takes care of. When I say shop floor, so Vezapp is coming from the point of view where the shop floor challenges are more.
Right.
You can find any ERP software in the market, but the technicality is how casting is made, pouring temperature, tipping temperature, start time, end time, spectrometer. Now, these things are technicalities. ERP doesn't care whether hardness or microstructure or what is your perlite or ferrite percentage, right? Whether casting is good or reject. If good, I can multiply by money and say revenue generated. Bad, multiply by this and scrap generated. Now that's not the case. The idea is this building of admin block can run smoothly if this data is correct. Otherwise, if you give this data wrong to the ERP,
let's use this.
So our idea is that it's based on the shop floor area and shop floor data collection. So as soon as your shop floor data collection is on paper, which is not using any software or tool, then Vezapp is building and helping those areas.
Okay.
Right. So we have to understand that we are not an ERP system.
Okay.
ERP system is different, and shop floor data collection for technical parameters are different things. Because many foundries try to merge them into one, and then the whole system becomes so complex that none of them is happy with the.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about that, because what happens is today in the market there are a few very, very high class ERPs. Like they cost a lot of money. They're not on SaaS models.
Yes.
Right. You worked with one of them. So when we look at these softwares, like from a foundry man's perspective, they are a little overwhelming. They have too many parameters, and the first thing we look at these ERPs and we think, okay, this looks like a lot of work that I have to put in. In fact, it was supposed to be a solution for my factory.
Helping me rather out, yeah.
It looks like I have to deep dive in, get back to the drawing board and do a lot of work here. So your solution, in fact, is to sit with a customer and say, okay, what do you want?
Correct.
And
it's
build
like
it
a blank
with them.
slate.
Right. So you go into a partnership with them, you build a software, customize for them, and it works to solve their problem.
And live.
Right. You
on the premises, sitting there live. Yeah.
So that's something that's very different between what you're offering and the market.
Definitely. That's what we are doing differently.
Right. No, but we didn't finish on that topic. I want to know, you're working with Zambia, right? What do you see differences between their and Indian market? Like, do you see maybe the Indian market in threat in the future? Because where is it going?
Well, as far as India is concerned, that's very steady and growing very well. So I don't think any threat point of view in this sense. But yeah, I think those African countries, I would say mainly, has a very good potential this, because of course there is also labor available at effectively cost, I would say.
Correct.
If they do little bit of adopting to the machineries and latest machinery or adoption, they of course could give competition to Indian from the market point of view.
So do you see this happening in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, if they are able to cope up with new technologies and adopting them, then I mean, not a huge percentage wise, but definitely the, let's say, the nearby countries requirement, they will definitely try to grab them. Yes.
Okay. I have another question. This is maybe some of you might probably want to ask this question about how do I know that my data is protected with you?
Okay. Yes.
Like, because that is something.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, you are working with my competitor as well.
Yes.
Right. So how do I know my data is protected? Like, what do you guarantee that way?
What has changed in last couple of years is that initially the first set of workings was everybody was having their in-house server. If you go to any company, there is a one lock.
This is also not in the script, by the way. Okay, guys.
So you have lots of, I would say, bouncer kept.
Yeah. I have a few more as well.
So what was happening? If you go to any company, you will find one lock room, and that is a server room. Nobody goes to there. There is a AC server, and that's it.
Correct.
That was initial, I would say.
Correct.
2000 start, I would guess, more or less.
Correct.
Now later on, what happened? Then the introduction of web apps and all those customized solutions started coming in. So then developer was keeping their own server into USA, and they were hosting data there.
Okay.
That was the next change happened.
Right.
After that, a couple of 2010 onward, I would say.
Okay.
And then later on, 2015 and on, I would say that now it is more and more affordable. Cloud servers are available like Amazon or Azure and this and that. So this is these are the companies who has expertise in data protection. For example, they keep even data into different continents.
Okay.
Based on your fault lines.
Okay.
To protect from earthquake.
Okay.
So right now my data is, let's say, on Amazon Web Service Cloud in Mumbai.
Correct.
But this is a responsibility of Amazon Web Service Cloud to keep my data backup into Australia, to some other third continent as well.
Okay.
Just to keeping me in mind that if something happens, they have always data available.
Right. This is another angle you took at it, because I was looking at more from a point of, my competitor should not receive my data, and maybe they can get access to, what my costings are. But you took another angle. You told us that maybe AWS and all these companies, like, because we are essentially giving away our logbooks, right? Which is like safety for us. We have like 10 years of data with us, even though we might not use it. Honestly, but it's there if we want it.
Historical data is important. Yes.
So this is another thing that you answered really well.
So coming back to your question to address that side.
Yeah.
So any cloud service is similar to your Gmail.
Okay.
For example, you are using Gmail or your company login, right?
Okay.
So unless you don't share your credentials,
correct,
your data is not going somewhere.
So essentially, you partnered up with a cloud software to capture all the data and store it
hosted on the cloud. Okay. But these are encrypted data.
Right.
So, I mean, there is no threat from that server, somebody hack the server and get the data. That chances are not there.
Right.
The way the AWS and all claims.
Right.
And the second part is that unless you don't share your credential with someone,
correct,
it will not be open to all.
Correct.
However, at application level, we have different roles.
Right.
So, for example, I can give someone admin role.
Different levels of access.
Different levels of access. Right. So, if I don't give admin level, they don't see part level or customer data or invoice or those things, right?
Right. Right.
So those level we are controlling at application level. Correct. Data threat point of view is go to the server level.
Correct.
So there are two levels.
So that's good. I think that pretty much answers our question. That's fine. Fine. A few more questions, right? Where do you see the Indian foundry industry growing in the future? Because you're working with a lot, small, medium, big, large.
Yes. So I would say there is a very bright future for sure. Okay. Lots of new entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs are also coming and taking up, which is a good end.
Right.
Yes, overall I would see a very good growth coming years, and also the aluminum specifically market is going to grow much more exponentially.
Okay, aluminum
market is going to be much more.
So you're bullish on aluminum foundries?
Yes, it is going to happen. So many more parts you will see as electric cars are coming. It's already started. I mean, nothing new, but iron and parts will be replaced by aluminum more and more.
Right. Do you also see cast iron foundries maybe starting up an aluminum unit just to leverage and maybe spread their assets? There is
possible. I'm not saying not possible.
Is this something that you're seeing actively?
Not much.
Not right now. Okay, fine.
Then
we'll fine.
But yes, it is possible because see, they have a basic foundry infrastructure and knowledge, I mean, from their historical point of view, I'm saying. So it's not saying impossible, but mostly they try to remain in that.
But you've not
grade
seen
one.
this like actively happening, right?
Not much,
in your
not
experience.
much. Mainly,
Okay,
I mean, there are few, but I could not say broadly people are doing like that.
Got it. Okay. AI.
Yeah, I was just coming to
AR.
that point as well. Yeah, so
How this technology is changing the
yeah, I
foundry
mean,
industry.
there are lots of talk,
Because
about
you're
AI.
a
and all
person
that.
who spots very early trends, right? So for the foundry industry, what does AI, VR, and AR mean to us? Like, tell us what the future is about.
Frankly, it is useful.
Okay.
Upfront, I'm saying it is useful, but immediately not.
Okay.
The reason being, all these technologies to use, they also need data. I mean, when you say AI, right? If I want to use AI, I have to build a model. Now, if I don't have historical data, which is on paper, there is no way you can go and reach to AI. So it's a journey. There cannot be a leap jump directly to AI. That forget about the digitalization. Let's just go to the AI. That will not happen, right? It can happen with robot.
Right.
Human to robot, overnight possible.
Correct.
But not with AI, like immediately happen. So my point is, your data, if you have, then only AI will be able to help you in future.
Okay.
But if you don't have data, then AI will not be able to help you.
Correct.
Because AI is also built on
So
some model.
with the digitization that you're doing right now, you're essentially building up the data for the foundry.
Correct.
Correct. To
I
access.
give you one example,
Okay.
specifically for Foundry, so you can correlate which way it can help. So everybody talks about, you also know that there are not enough manpower available, right?
Right.
So in any company, who is the most important person? Any guess?
Most important person
In any foundry?
Okay. Do I get points for this? Do I
Yes.
get some sort of complimentary prize for this?
2 more likes and subscribe.
No, I mean I'm completely clueless.
It's the melter.
Okay, the melter is the most important
It's the
person
most important person
in the foundry.
in the foundry.
Okay, if you're a melter, I mean, good luck to you.
The reason is because the whole chemistry depends there.
Okay.
Right? Because he is the person who has everything is in mind.
Right.
Grade, additions, after spectro, what to do, what to do. Now, if everybody is complaining that we are not getting enough manpower for the foundry, what will happen when there is a shortage of manpower in the melting department? What will you do? Will you close the foundry? Right? So you have to prepare from now. So today you are entering the data, X grade, how you made it, what was the quality check was okay or not. Tomorrow you have now historical data of 6 months.
Right.
Now you can think of after 6-8 months that whenever my person makes this grade, I want from system to guide him what charge mix he should put in based on my historical data.
Okay.
What quantity, what the heat time should come, tapping temperature, pouring temperature, everything.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Because ultimately this data
Correct.
generates the right casting grades.
Okay.
So your own data will speak what to do. Nobody will come from
So I
just
think,
like
I
magic
think,
and will help you like.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to exactly something similar to what Mr. Philip spoke on the podcast, which is LIM software, right? Which is integrating, your charge melt with your, historical data from the lab,
Yes.
maybe tensile reports, elongation reports.
Because ultimately everything is linked.
Correct. So is this something that Vezapp is like actively going to explore in the future?
That is possible.
Okay.
But what we need I think is the first step is adoption of the digitalization.
Correct.
Because if that happens, then
start
you can-
from there.
From there only.
Correct.
Because if somebody foundry says that okay, now I have 2 months, 3 months, 8 months data,
Correct.
and now you help us how we should make this grade. So system should
Correct.
help me.
Correct.
That is possible when the first steps are taken.
Correct.
As I said, it's not overnight that okay, some magic will happen. That's not possible.
Right. Right. So that's good. He's given us a sneak peek into what's coming next.
Yes, but it will happen.
Charge mix.
Charge makes,
Charge
basically those areas.
Right.
And more I would say there is a huge scope for, I mean, of course, I'm not against any VR or something, but as of now, even in Foundry, low-cost automation has not even reached,
Okay.
which can be done.
Okay.
But there I see a challenge between how to develop low-cost automation, because there is no specific ready-to-use tool, right?
Correct.
If I am making certain particular components, I want 1,000 components to be fatal per day.
Correct.
So right now, only thing is my persons are with doing grinding. Now, for those sort setups, like
Correct.
they need a low-cost automation, and that is where the biggest gap what I see is the difference or the disengagement between the institutes, which are colleges in thousands of numbers, in every corner, I would say, against integration or some kind of interactions between institute and industry. That's the biggest missing link I see. I mean, even from my experience from Germany, I'm saying is because in Germany, if some requirement comes up with the industry, they first approach the professor and institute that there is a problem statement, we need solution for that. That is the biggest thing I think India needs to adopt. So because then they will give you, right now everybody complains that even those engineers who are pass out are not helpful. Right? So how they will become helpful? When you give them during the engineering challenges some problem statement, then they will start applying their minds for the solutions.
That is also something that I think our IF is working very actively on, the ACLAV project that we're hoping to do. There are some changes that need to be made to make it a little more interactive. But we can go on and on that. I think we are pretty much covered with Vezapp. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I think you have given a very good.
You've covered everything.
Yes.
And if you feel that you have a question for Mr. Bhushan, you can we can find you on.
Yes, you can come and contact us on our website. That is vezapp.com. vezapp.com.
vezapp.com. Right. We'll put the link below as usual, guys. You can also find him on LinkedIn since he's an early adopter on LinkedIn, right?
Yes. Also, we have a Facebook page or something, email available on website.
Got it. I mean, he's pretty popular.
Not really.
So you can find him all over the place. You reach out to him and you'll probably find him at your foundry.
Right? Yes. So basically, I mean, it's not just that we are only interacting with the customers. I mean, we help in whatever ways and knowledge sharing, because knowledge sharing is also important. It's not just business. So we do casual helping whenever there is something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you shared a lot of knowledge on this podcast.
We have done. Even we have done it with earlier Foundry platforms available. We try to share knowledge. So it's not necessary that we have some business interest. Any challenges there are in the Foundry domain, we are very happy to help anytime.
That's good. So thank you, Bhushan. It's been an absolute pleasure here. Thank you for coming all the way
Thanks for giving me this opportunity to be with you here.
Thank you. And in fact, we met through IF, right?
Yes.
At a meeting a year ago.
Vadodara, I guess. We met in Vadodara during IF. Yeah.
So at that time, there was no podcast. Nothing existed. So we connected couple of last month, I believe, just after Manan's
recording, I guess we met.
Correct. And then things started to move, and we reached out, and we finally.
Yeah, I'm really happy. You guys are doing a great job, and thank you so particularly for the Foundry domain. This is good that you have been creating such platform which is helping to interact with different. So we understand different journeys of different people. How the product or solution is not about just those point of view, but as a journey, how one company evolves.
It's also nice to see that now people know that you've come from a Foundry background. You had 8-10 years, I think, with Auto, right? 10 years at least experience in the Foundry industry before you've gone into it actively in business.
Yes.
So that's very nice. So it's nice to talk to someone who's already
Foundry teaches us, and we try to evolve from there.
So you speak the similar language as well.
Yeah. So that's because that's what I mean. More and more we speak same language, so they understand the Foundry language. If you speak, they are able to adapt it easier.
Very true. So that's it, guys. Check out Bhushan. We'll put the links below, and we'll see you on the next episode. Right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.